Good Wednesday afternoon. Yeah, we have a winter storm on the way, guys, and winter storm warnings are up for the entire area. In fact, those warnings stretch all the way north to Maine, all the way south to Florida. You look across Hampton Roads here. These go into effect 1 p.m. this afternoon through tomorrow. Let's refresh ourselves on exactly what a watch and warning means. Yesterday, if you remember, we were under a watch. That's ahead of time, kind of heads up 24 to 48 hours ahead of time. Now, warning means major winter weather issues are imminent. In fact, the storm already developing, and the storm looks more potent than it did yesterday. Blizzard warning now up for a good chunk of Hampton Roads. That's an upgrade from the winter storm warnings earlier. That goes into effect tonight through tomorrow, and that's for Northampton in Virginia, Hampton, Poquoson, Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Chesapeake, Currituck, and Camden in North Carolina. And that's for the combination of winds, heavy snow, and reduced visibilities. In fact, let's talk about exactly what a blizzard means. Now, you can have 1 inch of snow and have a blizzard. You can have 2 feet of snow and not have a blizzard. It has nothing to do with the amount of snow we're getting. It is the combination of several variables. The winds, obviously. You need 35-mile-per-hour winds to drop visibilities with blowing snow down below a quarter of a mile or less for 3 hours at least in a row, 3 hours at least. And it's looking like the possibilities there for blizzard conditions to happen, which hence why we have the blizzard warnings in a lot of spots. Let's talk first about the winds. Here's Futurecast, the computer model looking at wind speeds as we go out in a certain point of time, going just after midnight here tomorrow morning. So tonight into tomorrow morning, look at our wind gusts, certainly in some spots that are under the blizzard warning, seeing those winds surpassing that 35-mile-per-hour threshold. As we go through the rest of the morning up through around 6 a.m., look at some of these wind gusts getting even higher than that. Right along immediate coastal areas, I bet we see some 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Always the coastal spot's going to be a little bit stronger because winds going over water don't have friction to encounter to slow them down. That's why you see the winds back to the north and west here are significantly less strong because of the land masses slowing them down, the friction slowing it down. But you get close to the water, 45, 50-mile-an-hour gusts can't be ruled out for sure, and that's just going to blow around that snow and reduce visibilities farther. Now, even into Thursday afternoon, we still have those wind gusts up there, 25 to 35 miles per hour. All right, let's talk models now. We talked yesterday. We'll go with the first two long-term ones, which first we'll start off with the European model. This one is backed off slightly on its snow total. Still plowable, shovelable, if that's a word, tonight into tomorrow. 4, 5, 6 inches of snow there. Then we look at the GFS. Obviously, double that in a lot of areas, putting out 5 to 10, even 11 inches of snow there. Now let's go to the short-term models. The NAM, the American model here, kind of in line with the GFS, although keeping some of the higher snow totals down into northeastern North Carolina and dipping off very quickly with a sharp gradient cutoff off to the north and west here as you get closer to Richmond. And then the RPM, which is kind of modeled off of the short-term models in-house, showing more widespread, very heavy snow total. So we look at all of those models. We look at the scenario, the setup, the placement of the storm, how things are looking currently. We make a diagnosis, and then we make a prognosis. Here's the forecast snowfall map here for us. 6 to 10 inches, so going with a general blend of all the models we saw there and how things are shaping up right now. 6 to 10 inches generally. I wouldn't even rule out seeing a few areas getting a little bit higher than that. It really all depends on where the banding sets up. As this storm strengthens and bombs out, it's going to eventually, develop some bands of very heavy snow that could bring snowfall rates up. So within that, there could be maybe 1 or 2 areas that see 11 or maybe even a foot of snow. It drops off sharply as you get farther inland and off to the west, up through Williamsburg, a general 3 to 6. And to account for the possibility of the influence of some maritime air, some sleet mixing on in here, I downgrade a little bit, 3 to 6 inches, and then you get right on the water there through the Outer Banks, 1 to 2 maybe. Very rare to get accumulating snows through the Outer Banks, so that drops off significantly there. Here's how the storm's looking right now. It is gaining speed. In fact, it's drawn down so much cold air into Florida that they had some snow this morning. It's just unheard of. Look at these watches and warnings that are up. Well, they were all the way down to Florida and all the way up to Maine. Now, nor'easters, if you remember watching the hurricane videos, we talked about how hurricanes get their fuel, how they sustain themselves, and it's from the warm waters of the ocean, which, by the way, are still very warm for this time of the year. These numbers out here, 70s, are about 2 to 3 degrees Celsius above average for this time of the year. Doesn't seem like a lot, but that is an astronomical amount of energy that's still available. But with nor'easters, totally different beast. They don't get their energy and develop and grow strength from the warm ocean waters. They develop as a direct response to the correlation or to the comparison of the sharp temperature gradient, or the differences in temperatures over area here. So you have the warm ocean waters, and then you have the land mass that's down in the 20s. There's a huge gradient there of over 40 degrees. So that will drive the development of the system and also force it to come a little bit closer to the coastline, I think, as we go through tonight. Here's how it looks on the computer models. It's already gaining strength and bringing snow to portions of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. We'll zoom in here and show you that you see that band setting up across Hampton Roads. I think it will start out as a brief period of wintry mix. Our temperatures this afternoon will make it above freezing for the first time since Saturday afternoon. So ground completely frozen. A couple hours above freezing is not going to thaw it out. Just not enough time. Plus, we're only getting into the mid to upper 30s. It's not like a 50-degree day. So brief period of some sleet, freezing rain, and rain along the immediate coastline. The problem with that, frozen ground. When you have liquid touching something that's frozen, it's going to freeze. So that means a sheet of ice under the snow once we change over to snow, which I do think happens as the storm bombs out. You've probably also been hearing something called bombogenesis. That's a term that we use with nor'easters, and that typically means, or that actually means, that when a storm deepens or strengthens a certain amount of pressure over a 24-hour period, that gets the term bombogenesis. So in this case, the storm needs to deepen 24 millibars. That's how we measure pressure within a system, a storm system, over 24 hours. So technically a millibar per hour there. And it's looking like that will actually happen as the storm deepens off the coastline there, with that huge drastic change in temperature from land to water there. And then as we go into tonight, the storm deepens farther, and we see that cold air injecting itself. Everybody over to all snow. Snowfall rates going to be up to 1 to maybe 2 inches per hour if we get some of that banding to work on in. And then by 8 to 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, I know this is a little lagged here, keeping the snow around into early afternoon. I think that's a far stretch. It'll be tapering off by 8 to 10 o'clock, and then we have the winds drawing in another blast of Arctic air behind it. All right, let's go through the snow timeline now. Through the day today, just increasing clouds. You're fine. Temperatures will briefly get above that freezing mark. Not doing much to thaw out the ground, though. This evening, the clouds lower and thicken. I think that snow-wintry mix begins to develop after the evening commute. And then as the temperatures drop, we go over to all snow. Overnight, that snow is moderate to heavy at times. That's when we'll pick up the bulk of the accumulations. The winds also starting to howl. Winds at least 30 miles per hour, gusting over 40 to even 50 the closer you get to the coastline. And that's when we expect the blizzard conditions to be possible, dropping those visibilities down for a period of 3 hours or more. Then Thursday morning, still snowing steadily up around sunrise and quickly thereafter, but it begins to taper off from west to east, and those very strong winds will just continue to blow that snow around and reduce visibilities through much of the day. Then into Thursday night, kind of a two-pronged system here. First the precipitation, then the cold. Those winds out of the northwest drawing down the colder air. You have the fresh snowpack, and you have the winds. Air temperatures possibly dropping down into the single digits, but with winds gusting to 30 miles per hour, we're looking at not only sub-zero wind chill values, but significantly below zero. Anywhere from 5 to 10 below is what it will feel like as you head into Friday morning and then again Saturday morning and beyond that before we warm up, which doesn't look to happen until early next week. So any snow we do see sticking around for quite some time. That's the latest there. I know a lot to digest, but that's the latest. Jeff will be in this evening with an update from there, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a great afternoon.